One of the greatest tragedies in life is not death, it is life without purpose. It is waking up every morning, running full speed, and realizing at the end of the day you were on the wrong track. We live in a world that celebrates business, glorifies multitasking, and idolizes productivity, but I want to tell you a truth that will liberate your soul. You were not created to do everything. You were created to do a specific thing, a unique thing, a divinely designed thing. And until you discover that thing, you will always feel the weight of doing everything. The Creator never designed you to carry the burden of the whole world. That's why He gave you purpose, not pressure. He gave you an assignment, not a schedule. He placed you in time, in place, and in form, equipped with specific gifts to fulfill a unique role in the earth. But when you abandon that design and try to do what was never assigned to you, frustration is inevitable. Confusion is guaranteed. Burnout becomes normal. Look at creation. Nothing in nature does everything. The sun shines, but it doesn't rain. The rain falls, but it doesn't grow crops. The seed grows, but it doesn't harvest itself. The bee pollinates, but it doesn't produce fruit. Even creation understands the law of focused purpose. So why do we, God's highest creation, strive to be all things to all people? At all times the answer is simple. We have confused activity with destiny. Just because you're busy doesn't mean you're effective. Just because you're involved doesn't mean you're aligned. Some people are dying on mountains they were never called to climb. And you might be applauded for your effort, but if it's not what you were born to do, it's not obedience. It's distraction. You must understand this: purpose brings peace. Assignment brings order. But trying to fulfill every need around you brings chaos. Even the Messiah didn't do everything. He healed many, but not all. He traveled to specific cities, but not every village. He served with power, but only within the boundaries of his assignment. He declared, I must be about my Father's business, not everybody's business, not every opportunity, not every demand. Just the one thing he was sent to do. You too have a Father's business. And when you ignore that business to do everything else, you will lose your authority, your clarity, and your energy. Doing too much dilutes your effectiveness. It's like trying to water a field with a leaking hose. You expend effort but see no fruit. You burn fuel but produce no fire. You were not made to say yes to every request. Your divine design comes with divine boundaries. And some of us are drowning in overwhelm because we lack the courage to say, that's not my assignment. Saying no is not rebellion, it's responsibility, it's stewardship, it's wisdom. And hear me, purpose is not found in popularity. Just because people like what you do doesn't mean it's what you're called to do. The applause of men must never replace the approval of God. You were not created to be everyone's answer. You were created to be the solution to a specific problem in the earth. That is where your grace flows. That is where your anointing rests. That is where your peace will reign. And until you align with that place, you will keep running in circles. You will keep saying yes to what sounds good while neglecting what is truly God's. The enemy of purpose is not always sin. It's often success in the wrong direction. And if the devil can't destroy you with failure, he'll distract you with options. You don't need 100 open doors. You need the right one. You need the door that was crafted for your voice, your gifts, your experience, your pain, your story. When you find that lane, everything changes. Provision flows, clarity increases, impact multiplies. But it begins with the humble recognition that you were not created to do everything. Purpose is not about being seen. It's about being sent. It's not about being liked. It's about being positioned. One of the great deceptions of our generation is the belief that visibility equals value, that if people see you, you must be important. But let me tell you something powerful. You don't need to be known to be necessary. You don't need to be famous to be effective. And you don't need a platform to walk in purpose. When you understand purpose, you stop chasing attention and start chasing alignments. You begin to realize that real success is not about how many people are watching. It's about whether you're walking in the thing you were born to do. You start to see that being everywhere is not progress if you're not where you're supposed to be. Because purpose is not broad, it's specific, it's precise, it's focused. So a laser is simply light that's been focused. And because it is focused, it can cut through steel. But that same light, when scattered, is harmless. Many of us are gifted, but not focused, talented, but distracted. We shine, but we don't cut, we glow. But we don't break through. Because we've confused movement with mission. We've bought into the lie that being busy means being productive. But productivity without purpose is nothing but a faster road to burnout. You were not designed to compete with others. You were designed to complete your assignment. Comparison is a cancer to calling. It eats away at confidence. It blinds you to your own design. And the moment you start measuring your journey by someone else's timeline, you step out of your lane and into confusion. But when you walk in purpose, you stop competing and start cooperating with heaven's plan for your life. Let me tell you something that might surprise you. Your purpose is not about you. It's about what you carry. It's about what you were born to release into the world. Purpose is the reason for your existence, the answer you bring to a question someone else is asking, the solution you embody to a problem in the earth. And when you get distracted trying to become what others want you to be, you rob the world of the gift you were born to give. When you chase fame, you change for people. But when you chase purpose, you transform for God. One will have you performing, the other will have you becoming, and becoming is where real power lies. You must understand this. Your identity is not in your image, it's in your impact. And impact comes from intimacy with your assignment, not popularity with the crowd. The spotlight is seductive, but destiny is deliberate. And sometimes God hides you on purpose. Sometimes He takes you off the stage so He can put you in position. Sometimes He removes the audience so He can restore your awareness of why you started in the first place. Because true purpose doesn't need a crowd, it just needs clarity. You don't need to be in every room. You don't need to answer every call. You don't need to join every trend. You just need to hear one voice, the one that called you before you were formed, the one that shaped you before you were born. That voice doesn't speak in likes or followers. It speaks in conviction. It speaks in direction. It speaks in whispers when the world is yelling. And let me remind you, every great assignment comes with the temptation to abandon focus. The enemy of purpose is not always failure. Sometimes it's an opportunity that looks good but leads you off course. Sometimes it's applause that distracts you from alignment. But you must remain focused, because focus is the womb of fulfillment. Purpose doesn't happen by accident. It happens by decision. It happens when you stop living wide and start living deep. It happens when you trade popularity for power, noise for direction, and fame for fulfillment. Chaos is not always a result of the external world. It often begins internally. In a mind that is overloaded, in a heart that is overwhelmed, in a soul that is overcommitted. And the root of much of this unrest is not just what we are doing, but the absence of knowing why we are doing it. Peace is not found in a quiet room. Peace is found in a clear purpose. Clarity of assignment is not a luxury, it is a necessity. You cannot walk in peace if your soul is pulled in 100 different directions. You cannot live in rest while questioning your every decision. But when you know your assignment, when you are confident in what you were placed on this earth to do, there is a stillness that settles in your spirit. There is a calm that stands even in the midst of storms, because clarity brings confidence. Clarity silences confusion. Clarity ends the debate between your mind and your heart. The reason many people are tired is not because they are doing bad things, it's because they are doing everything. And when you take on assignments that do not belong to you, you trade your peace for pressure. You start living reactively, not purposefully. You answer every call, respond to every crisis, and involve yourself in every need, thinking that activity equals responsibility. But responsibility without assignment is distraction in disguise. Let me tell you something, not every good thing is a God thing. Not every open door leads to destiny. Not every opportunity is aligned with your origin. That's why you must pursue clarity above affirmation. Before you seek validation from others, seek understanding from within. Ask yourself the hard questions. What am I here for? What has been entrusted to me? What burdens me in a way that nothing else does? Because those questions don't just reveal passion, they reveal assignment. You were not placed on this earth to wander aimlessly from one project to another. You were born to complete something. There is a task that bears your name. There is a calling that fits your hand. There is a purpose that matches your soul like a fingerprint. And once you find it, once you lock into it, you'll stop chasing peace in other places, because peace follows purpose. And when you operate in your assignment, peace becomes your companion. It's not your pursuit. Confusion is costly, it drains energy, it steals time, it clouds judgment. But when you have clarity of assignment, decisions become easier. You stop debating your calendar every week. You stop feeling guilty about declining what doesn't align. You stop apologizing for being focused. Because now you know that every no to distraction is a yes to destiny. When you lack clarity, you give people too much power. You let them define your success, dictate your schedule, and direct your energy. But when you are clear, you reclaim authority over your time. You stop allowing the urgent to override the important. You stop living off reaction and start walking in revelation. You no longer need everyone's approval to move forward, because clarity makes you stable. You become unshakable not because everything is easy, but because you know exactly why you're doing it. Even pressure changes when you're clear. It doesn't disappear, but it becomes purposeful. It becomes weight that strengthens you instead of breaking you. Because you now understand that the burden you carry was custom designed for your shoulders. You stop comparing loads with others. You stop looking over the fence at someone else's field. You stay in your garden, you till your soil, you harvest your crop, because your clarity has closed the door to comparison. And once you find that lane, that space where your spirit breathes freely, where your gifts flow naturally, where your mind finds rest in movement, you will realize something powerful. Peace is not the absence of work. but the presence of purpose. And that purpose must be discovered, protected, and stewarded with intentionality. One of the most misunderstood words in the vocabulary of purpose is a small but powerful word, no. Not every act of obedience is about doing more. Sometimes obedience means doing less. Sometimes it means declining the opportunity. Sometimes it means walking away. Sometimes it means closing a door that everyone else thinks you should walk through. Because in the realm of divine assignment, saying no is not rebellion, it is a form of obedience. You were not sent to everyone. You were not called to every cause. You were not anointed for every assignment. When you try to be available to everything, you become effective in nothing. Availability without discernment becomes slavery. You end up chained to obligations that God never authorized. You wear burdens that were never your size. You pour out in places where there's no oil for you to give. And what happens? You burn out. You become bitter. You become frustrated not because you're weak, but because you were disobedient to the boundaries of your callings. Obedience is not just about saying yes. To God, it's about saying no to distractions, no to guilt-based obligations, no to manipulative expectations, no to the fear of disappointing people. Because your eyes means nothing if you don't have the courage to say no to what competes with it. When you lack the discipline to say no, you begin to serve from a place of depletion rather than abundance. You begin to compromise the quality of your gift because you've overextended your energy. Purpose doesn't thrive in exhaustion, it thrives in intentionality. And intentionality requires you to be selective. Just because a need exists doesn't mean you're the one meant to meet it. Just because there's a gap doesn't mean it's your job to fill it. You were not created to be a filler, you were created to be a finisher. And finishers know what to say yes to and what to walk away from. Many people are living stressed, not because they're doing evil things, but because they're doing too many good things at the wrong time. They say yes out of fear, out of pride, out of insecurities. But fear-based obedience is not obedience, it's manipulation. True obedience flows from clarity. And when you are clear, your no becomes a weapon of protection. It guards your times. It shields your purpose. It preserves your peace. Because you understand that every yes has a cost. Every door you walk through leads somewhere, and not every destination is divine. Even Jesus said no. He said no to the crowd when they tried to make him king before the time. He said no to the demands of people when he needed solitude. He said no to popular excitation so he could remain aligned with divine instructions. And if the one sent from heaven could say no, what makes you think you should say yes to everything? Some of the greatest breakthroughs in your life will not come from what you start, but from what you stop. Stop overcommitting. Stop over-explaining. Stop carrying people who won't walk. Stop trying to fix what God never told you to repair. Obedience means trusting that if He didn't give you the grace for it, He didn't assign you to it. You don't need to rescue every situation. You're not the savior. You're a steward, and stewards operate within the limits of their assignment. Your no doesn't make you selfish, it makes you strategic. It doesn't make you arrogant, it makes you aligned. Because when you say no to what drains you, preserve the strength to say yes to what fuels you. And your future is too important to be traded for the applause of people who do not carry your calling. Discipline is a form of devotion. And every time you say no to what's outside of your purpose, you are saying yes to the one who gave you that purpose in the first place. The danger is not always in failure. Sometimes the danger is in fractured focus, in scattering your energy in directions that look holy, were never authorized by heaven. There is a principle woven into the very fabric of creations. What you focus on flourishes, and what you neglect withers. Multiplication is not a mystery, it is the result of focused faithfulness, not scattered effort, not random activity, not hyperproductivity. Faithfulness is the soil in which fruitfulness grows, but not all soil is meant for your seed. You cannot multiply what you refuse to commit to. You cannot be fruitful where you are not planted, and you cannot expect harvest in areas where you were never assigned to sow. We live in an age of options, endless, noisy, distracting options. Every moment offers a new idea, a new path, a new lanes. And if you are not anchored in purpose, you will become a servant to opportunities that were never meant for you. You will jump from project to project, chasing novelty instead of nurturing your assignment. But hear this, novelty doesn't produce legacy. Focus does. Faithfulness does. The seed only multiplies when it stays in the ground. A planted seed that is uprooted every few days cannot grow roots, let alone bear fruit. The same is true of your gift, your calling, your assignment. It's not how many things you start that matters, it's what you stay with. It's what you endure in, it's what you water daily. It's what you protect from distraction, delay, and discouragements. Multiplication is never the result of doing everything, it's the fruit of doing the right thing with consistency, integrity, and faith. Even the most anointed vision will die in the hands of a distracted person. Even the most powerful gift can be rendered useless when scattered across too many pursuits. Focus is not about having less capacity, it's about applying your capacity with precision. It's about knowing what deserves your full weight, your full attention, your full strengths. You don't need more talents. You don't need more followers. You don't need more platforms. You need to steward what you already have with fierce dedication. What's in your hand is enough if you will stay with it, if you will develop it, if you will refuse to abandon it just because the process is slow or the applause is small. Heaven does not reward motion, it rewards faithfulness, and the reward is always multiplication. The danger of doing everything is that you dilute your authority, you weaken your impact, you divide your power. You can't pour oil into 10 different vessels and expect each one to overflow. But if you take that oil and pour it into one vessel with focus and prayer, that vessel will begin to multiply. You'll start to see increase, not because you are doing more, but because you are finally doing what you are actually called to do. There is no favor in confusions. Favor follows clarity. Favor flows through alignment. And if you are constantly shifting lanes, you will keep missing divine appointments. Because favor is not random, it is territorial. It meets you at the place of assignment. It meets you at the point of obedience. It multiplies what has been submitted, not what is scattered. You must stop asking for expansion if you are not willing to commit. Expansion comes after establishment. Breakthrough comes after building. You cannot microwave legacy. You must marinate in obedience. You must plant, plow, prune, and wait. You must be faithful over the little before God can trust you with much. And faithfulness is not proven in the spotlight, it's proven in the secret place. It's what you do when no one is watching. It's how you handle the quiet seasons, the dry days, the long nights. Multiplication comes to those who stay, not to those who dabble. It comes to those who remain rooted in their calling, even when results are not immediate, even when others are running ahead, even when comparison calls your names. Because there is power in a made-up mind, there is power in a focused life. There is power in a soul that has chosen depth over width, quality over quantity, assignment over ambition.